Canadian authorities say over 800 fires are currently burning across the country, many of which are classified as being out of control. The blazes have caused smoggy skies across much of eastern Canada and even into the United States, with health warnings to avoid outdoor activities.
This could potentially overtake us here. This is getting a little scary. Yeah. Holy.
Fire completely surrounds this freight train in rural Ontario. Canadian National Rail have since confirmed that all workers were safely rescued, but that many services across the region have been temporarily suspended.
Hello, Jody, can you hear us?
The country's largest city, Toronto, has been smothered in dense smoke, turning the skies an apocalyptic orange. An outdoor fan zone for Wednesday's England versus Argentina match was cancelled after the city recorded the worst air quality in the world.
At first, when you go outside and you're coming from a cold environment, like, you can really feel like how heavy it is and how hot.
I'm from Toronto, grew up in Toronto. I don't remember having smoke ever until the last couple of years.
My eyes are burning, my lungs are burning, I've got a splitting headache.
Wow.
It's brutal.
This footage was shot by a passenger departing from an upstate New York airport as the smoke spreads across the border into the United States. But it's hoped conditions will have improved for the World Cup final, being held just outside Manhattan this weekend.
The first big wave of smoke that we've seen will also have cleared out. It'll have gone over into the ocean, transported further downwind. So at this time, I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be major disruptions to the Saturday and Sunday World Cup events.
For now, health warnings remain in place across New York, as well as a number of other states, including Michigan and Minnesota.
Let's bring in Anabela Bonada here. She's Managing Director of Climate Science at the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the program. I understand Ontario currently has over 130 active fires, and the smoke is now choking cities as far away as Chicago and New York. How unusual is a smoke event of this scale and reach?
It's a bit unusual, especially for Ontario. So each of the last few years has been pretty bad for us when it comes to wildfire intensity, starting with 2023 in particular. And then from there, we've had bad wildfire seasons. None of them have really hit Ontario as badly as it is happening this year. So this year it's Ontario and Quebec that are leading in that front. So it's pretty bad, and the wildfire smoke that we're experiencing is a little bit unprecedented in the sense that it hasn't come from Ontario before. But we have been experiencing very bad wildfire smoke seasons since 2023, each summer up until this one.
What does smoke exposure at this level do to people, especially over the course of several days?
It can be very harmful. So wildfire smoke is not made up of our usual smoke because it's burning through everything, including properties and cars and fuel. So we're breathing that in, and the particles are so small that they can make it all the way into our bloodstream. It can have major impacts for everybody. As you saw in those interviews, people can feel headache, runny nose, their eyes may itch, their throat may itch, but especially we have, more susceptible populations like young children, babies, pregnant women, the elderly, and anybody with a chronic health condition. So anybody that especially suffers from asthma or heart conditions should be really looked after over the next few days. And currently, as we're in a pretty bad situation right now, make sure to stay indoors in a cool space that has a good filter so that the air is constantly being filtered. And if you don't have that in your home, go to a cool center. We have many open in the area, in all of the cities around where this is happening. So just find out where those are and take a break from the smoke.
It sounds like good advice. Do you see this becoming the new normal, that places hundreds of miles from the fires having to plan for an emergency like this every summer?
Unfortunately, to me, we're headed that way. So we've had these kind of summers now since 2023, and parts of our nation have been having these summers since before that. But we've seen a real rise in our wildfire activity over these last few years, and our wildfire smoke has impacted all the way to Europe, like the one in 2023. My expectation is that we'll continue to see this if we don't make any other changes when it comes, obviously, to climate change and reducing our emissions, and how we manage our forests as well. So Canada's doing a lot on that front, but we've got a ways to go. But if we don't do anything to slow down climate change, we're going to continue to have these kind of summers with this type of wildfire smoke.
Now, I was just looking at some of the information coming through, and it suggests that this year's fires in Canada have burned much less ground than the huge fires there 3 years ago. You mentioned 2023. Why is the smoke impact so severe if the fire footprint is comparatively smaller?
It's a little bit smaller, but we're actually on track to be very similar to our second, third worst wildfire seasons, and it's in a different part of the country. So the wildfires that we're having are occurring, especially in our boreal region. They're being started by lightning and spreading very quickly. So those fires can get very, very large and consume much more land than fires that happen closer to communities. They're harder to control, and so they become very big. And it's also the type of wildfire. So once they start burning, those plumes go up, and they can create their own storms, and that it just kind of keeps going and going, and the smoke is blown south due to different type of like the jet stream or different wind patterns. So even though it's not as much land as 2023, it's still quite a bit that's burned at this point.
Well, I hope Ontario and the rest of Canada sees a little rain where these fires are burning. Now, Anabela Bonada from the University of Waterloo in Canada, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.